Of all the positions in basketball, point guard is the most identifiable for one simple reason. Most of the time, they have the ball. Floor generals run the offense, they protect possessions, set the pace, and the good ones still find ways to lead without rocking the boat. If that sounds like a lot to you, it's because it is. That laundry list of responsibilities is enough to overwhelm even the most talented prospects in the game, but every once in a while, someone manages to check every one of those boxes. They unlock something that doesn't come around often. It's a contagious confidence, a strong feeling of conviction that transfers from player to coach to fan. And if the history of the game has taught us anything, it's that there's more than one road that leads us there. That imperfect segue brings us to this disclaimer. This video isn't strictly about the 4 best point guards of all time. It's about the bridges, the guys who reimagined the role, brought new styles to life, and pushed the position and our imaginations forward. This is not a ranking or a tier list. It's a monument to the formative faces of the game's most nuanced position, and a genealogy of the endless styles we see today. We might not have included your favorite point guard, but odds are we included his. It's tough to imagine now, but back in the days of tape delays and commercial flights, basketball was a half-court game. There were occasionally fast breaks, quick orchestrated attacks when the offense had a numbers advantage, but for the most part, everything was slow, methodical, and responsible. Then a 6'9" playmaker with perfect vision, a cannon for an arm, and a silhouette built for a fur coat landed in LA, and immediately started throwing pinpoint dimes from his own free throw line. After that, conventional thinking changed. It had to, because based on the current framework, Magic Johnson didn't make any sense. In the past, speed and precision were mutually exclusive. The faster a team played, the more mistakes they made. High-flying squads that never stopped running earned a derogatory reputation best summed up by the term playground basketball. It was fun, it got the fans' attention, and on the right nights, maybe it could win a game. But the real champions ran sets and took their time. And along those same lines, true point guards were patient and calculating half-court operators who were constantly slowing the game down. Unfortunately for them, that false hierarchy of strategies came crumbling down as soon as Magic started passing, running, and most importantly, winning. After just a couple seasons, he was a cultural comet, shattering every preconceived notion we had about the point guard position. He was way taller than anyone we had seen run the floor, flashier than we were used to, and more ambitious with his playmaking than anyone could have imagined. It was the perfect balance of style and substance, and it weaponized 2 things the basketball world hardly even understood: pace and momentum. With Magic at the helm, LA didn't wait for an advantage after a defensive rebound. They created them with relentless effort and constant speed. Yeah, they were looking to push after a miss, but if the defense was slow getting back after a make, they were inbounding quickly, and their stylish savant was throwing a full-court outlet pass to a sprinting attacker. The 2 points they earned were bad enough, but what really changed the game was the fan reaction. Opposing crowds would collectively groan like they were vocally resenting their own team's lack of ingenuity, and home crowds, they lost their minds. They stood up, screamed, high-fived, celebrated like they were watching something they had never seen before. That energy was infectious, and it all stemmed from one source of collaborative creation that no one could match: the jumbo facilitator who played the game like he didn't know what the word anxiety meant. From that point forward, teams didn't want a cost-effective robot running the point. They wanted an ingenious creator with a spark that people could see from the nosebleeds. And a couple years later, a soft-smiling Chicago kid would teach us that genius comes in all sizes. At its core, the point guard position is about getting the ball where it needs to go. Magic did that better than anyone before him because he could throw 60-foot passes with one hand. Isaiah Thomas was never going to be able to launch pinpoint dimes from that range, so he honed in on a skill that was relatively underappreciated at the time: his handle. There were guys before Zeke who put some impressive highlights on tape, but the leader of the Bad Boys was the first to unlock the entire floor with a blend of quickness and control. His first step allowed him to blow by any defender in the league, and even in the obscenely crowded keys of the 80s, he could effortlessly maneuver the lanes, dancing past stabs at the ball like they were a gentle breeze on a summer day. For 3 quarters, this meant he could single-handedly dice up defenses and find his teammates in their go-to spots. It was the skeleton key that unlocked half-court sets. The Pistons didn't have to rely on polished passing to move the ball around the floor. They just asked Thomas to dribble past his man, hit his mark on the floor, and initiate the action. That took the aggressive edge away from defenses and placed them at the mercy of Detroit. For 3 quarters, Chuck Daly's squad was able to open up the entire playbook, fully enabling every scorer on the team to play to their full potential. But notice we said 3 quarters. What really made Isaiah Thomas different from the greats that came before him was what happened in the 4th. After facilitating for the majority of the game, structured plays went out the window. When they absolutely needed a bucket, the Pistons gave Thomas the ball and got out of his way. Thanks to his combination of speed, shot-making ability, and that never-before-seen handle we talked about, the biggest snub of the Dream Team could deliver volcanic scoring explosions in the biggest moments anytime Detroit needed him to. Of course, we had seen game closers before, but there had never been a closer this good and this small. Thomas was an undersized guard in an era without spacing or hand-checking restrictions, and what made it even crazier was the fact that it was all on demand. It was a simple switch he could flip to go from keeping his teammates involved to snuffing the light out of his opponent's eyes all on his own. The Bad Boys aren't the most historically popular team, and Zeke's feud with MJ will always hang over him. But if we're talking about the most historically underrated legends, he deserves to be the first name that gets brought up. And while we're on the topic of historically underrated, let's talk about the most disrespected 2-time MVP in basketball. As much as Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas were unprecedented, they were also impossible to miss. 2 obvious game-changing prospects from basketball blue bloods. Steve Nash didn't jump off the page like that. Coming into the NBA, he was a scrawny kid from Santa Clara University with a pretty jump shot. Even through his first 8 seasons, he wasn't much more than a really good point guard. Nothing revolutionary or eye-opening, just fundamental and smart. But there was this mustache-wearing madman waiting for a decision maker sharp enough to carry out his vision. And when Nash showed back up in Phoenix, Mike D'Antoni knew he had his guy. D'Antoni and the Suns built a roster ready to keep their foot on the gas, spread the floor, and run high pick and rolls until the wheels fell off. Then they put Nash in the driver's seat and gave him one commandment on every possession: find a shot in 7 seconds or less. Honestly, we think Nash could have done it in 5, but that would have killed the alliteration. Whether he was sprinting the ball up court or accelerating around a pick, Nash remained in full control of the ball and the game at all times. He knew where everyone was. He knew where all his teammates would be. But more than any of that, he knew exactly how to manipulate the defense in order to open up passing lanes. And we hadn't seen that before. Instead of driving to score or even driving to draw a big and throw a dump off, Nash drove to tangle rotations until they broke. He'd find an opening, hit defenders with a quick head fake that they had to respect. Then he'd dribble around the key as the entire defense scrambled around in panic. It was like watching 5 Toms chase 1 Jerry every single game. Nash was the clear outlier and also the obvious catalyst of every advantageous situation the Suns found themselves in, and they found themselves in a lot of them. No one was mentally and physically quick enough to keep up with him, and even when they weren't dealing with his dizzying assault on the key, they still had to stop his pick and roll with Amari Stoudemire, which really didn't seem all that possible from what we saw. The smallest guy on every court he stepped on, and an offensive engine so potent, he made 29 teams look like they were stuck 15 years in the past. We don't want to hear about championships or any other reductive talking point meant to undercut this generational legacy. Steve Nash left an impact on the game that will never be erased. Without his Suns team, we're still running pick and rolls from inside the three-point line. Once the 4-time 50, 40, 90 club member left his mark, the goalpost shifted again. It wasn't about finding a physical specimen to lead offenses anymore. It was about finding a human computer fast enough to decode defenses in real time. But our next entry didn't quickly compile the math. He made our formulas look stupid and outdated. There are a lot of debates around whether or not Steph Curry is a true point guard, and we understand the division. He spends a lot more time off ball than most floor generals. He scores more than he passes, and he shoots with fewer inhibitions than someone feeling the rain on their skin. That's not the pass first ideal we're all used to. But at the end of the day, this video is about innovation and influence, and that means leaving the prophet of the Bay Area out would be basketball blasphemy. Back in 2015, Steph Curry did something that no one's ever done before. He broke basketball. It was a tidal wave of shot making and non-stop barrage of inconceivable buckets that forced us to rethink everything. He was hitting 25-footers at a rate that didn't feel human and pulling up from the logo until it stopped surprising us. After enough viral highlights, defenses adjusted. They started meeting him just past half court, dedicating one defender to chasing him around the perimeter whether he had the ball or not. Really, they were looking for any experimental tactic that might be crazy enough to work. For one fan base, it was a divine arrival. For 29 others, it was a world-ending horror. But at this point, that feels like common knowledge. We aren't going to spend this entire section raving about the fact that Curry doesn't miss, even though the average Thunder fan's face still shows a 1,000-yard stare whenever the Warriors come to OKC.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
That ridiculous cheat code he hides in his right wrist will always be the headline, but it's not the only thing that gives defenses nightmares. If Steph were just a great shooter, they could theoretically trap the pick and roll, switch the off-ball screens, even hedge the flare screens to keep him from getting a look. I mean, he might make it anyways, but still, they could try any of those. The reason why they have to be somewhat careful with how reckless they get is because Steph is one of the most gifted passers we've ever seen. Hear me out. It's true that his assist numbers look a little pedestrian when compared to other names in this video, but a big reason for that is the way he passes. Curry doesn't always wait until his teammates are in scoring position. Instead, he'll toss them the rock as soon as they have an advantage. That means more hockey assists and good passes than the pure assists that show up in the box score. But the real catch here is those advantages pop up constantly when the entire defense is scrambling to make sure number 30 doesn't get a look at the rim. That means his teammates get spoon-fed easy buckets. Have you ever seen Draymond wide open after setting a screen? Or Quentin Post standing on the three-point line with no one in sight? More often than not, that happens because two defenders were sprinting out with both hands up, desperately hoping to prevent another Steph Curry three. He's a playmaker in an entirely new way, a terrifying threat that never stops moving and tears defenses to shreds without touching the ball. Someone that's entirely impossible to game plan for and demoralizing to combat. If you don't believe us, just ask any NBA player from the past 10 years, or any basketball fan in the country of France. There's no defense for that man. To be clear, there are a handful of all-time greats who got left out of this video, and if you're a fan of one of them that's upset with their snub, we get it. We'll gladly accept any criticism and happily face any conversations you want to have in the comments, because we aren't the lofty arbitrators of basketball hiding away in a corporate tower. We're just a couple of fans that grew up talking about basketball at the lunch tables, and all we want to do now is keep talking about it.